What's up, player? It's me, Shanila. Listen, seasonal saddies are around the corner. It's creeping up on you. It's inevitable that it's going to be here. And instead of us feeling like there's nothing that we could do about this seasonal depression, let's talk practically about some of the tips for seasonal saddies that's going to help you stay a year-long baddie. I think it's fair to say this is a pattern for you because this happens at the same time of the year, every single year. And instead of acting like, oh my God, I'm so shocked and surprised that this is happening, let's come up with a game plan that's going to help you do something different and allow you to flow through the season in a different way. Now, every time the seasons change, like physical seasons when they're changing, like you literally look outside and you see seasons are changing, you're changing too because you're part of nature. So in a certain season, you see nature blooming, right? There's plants and flowers and fruits and vegetables and the birds are back, the bees are bats and the bats are back. There's all this kind of life energy that nature is experiencing. Then there's a certain time of the year where it's not really about this external bloom. It's very much about that internal world, kind of calming back down, really just preserving and conserving that energy. And that's kind of what we're getting into right now, especially if you're living in the Northern Hemisphere and going into a winter season. So this winter season isn't about shutting down. It isn't about not doing anything and not caring about anything, even though that's what it can sometimes feels like because you're like, I literally have no chemicals to wake up and I have no chemicals to do a thing and I'm feeling very sad and I'm feeling it in my physical body. Even though it does feel like that, there is a very specific way that your body conserves energy. And it's not to say that we're not going to be using energy, it's that we're going to be using energy more discriminatorily. We're going to be using it in a very specific way. You're going to be using it in a way that is more selfish and it feels selfish, but it's going to be more intentional, okay? So when we are in conservation season where it's like, I don't have the motivation, I don't have the energy, and I like to think about it in terms of literal coins as energy. So certain seasons, you have a lot of coins to spend. You have like 20 coins. So you have like the social energy, you have the business energy, you have the motivation to do classes and go out and your exercise regime is different and it's like, because I have 20 coins to spend, right? 20 energy coins to spend. And then as the year kind of dwindles down, as we start to get into conservation season, it's very much like I don't have 20 coins to spend. I have at most three if I'm lucky, but these three way more than the 20 I have, right? So 20 is like each of them are worth 1 versus when I have 3, each of them are worth 10. They're more important to me because I don't have more to give. I have less to give, so they're worth more to me. So when you're coming into this seasonal shift and you're feeling this concentration of energy, you're going to start to notice that your social energy does change. Your motivational energy will change. Your production energy, it will change. It's not going to look like the same as it does when it's in a blooming season, when it's like very much social butterfly, and it's like, yeah, I'm taking all the invitation and birthday parties and this you do your life, right? But there's a certain season where that feels really empowering and energizing and it gives you life, and there's another season where it's like literally extracting your life force from you. It's like, I don't have time to like go to all these things, or I don't have time to stay at these things as long as a different season. And so that's important for you to understand, that when you're concentrating your energy into less coins to spend, so to speak, you're going to have to be more mindful about where this energy is going. And so if there are certain things that you've been doing even last week or 2 months ago, just understand that it's not going to help you to be hard on yourself if you're not able to do those things right now. It doesn't help that you're like, wow, I was doing 20 things, but now I can only do 1, right? Even that language is like, I can only do. But so this is where you have to be very specific and particular about what is that only one thing that you're going to be doing. That only one thing has to mean something to you. It has to light you up in a certain way. It has to add to your life in a certain way rather than extracting energy from you. You understand? So all of this is to say that this concentration energy is exactly what nature is doing out there as well. So you see that there's a blooming season, and then there's a harvest season, and then there's a conservation season. So when it's conservation season, basically what's happening is if you literally look at a tree outside, all the energy of that tree is going into the roots during cold seasons. So it has to drop a lot of things. Like it drops literally all its leaves, it drops producing fruits, it drops blooming, it drops producing flowers, because it's not production season, it's conservation season. You see that? And so the conservation isn't going to be like, ooh, let me like try my best to, you know, put out a flower. It's not the time for that. You know what I mean? That the survival, the flower is not likely to survive because it's not its time to be bloomed. It's not its time to exist. It's time to conserve its energy to the roots. So now when we're talking about conservation, it's also to say, like, what are your roots? What is the thing that's going to help you feel grounded, stable, comfortable, supported, that's going to really let you hold on to your roots in a way that is extremely grounding for you, rather than trying to like produce a flower and produce a fruit when it's not fruit season, when it's not flower season. It's a different season right now. And so especially in our culture where we have so many things so readily available, and we think that we have to be on the go all the time, or we're kind of, you know, afraid that if we lose momentum on one thing, that it's going to make us, you know, not be able to do it the same way or recreate the same success in the same way when we were, you know, in production season. There's a lot of fear that comes over during this season, and it has to do with imperialism. It has to do with, you know, living in a capitalistic society. It has to do with the stories that you're indoctrinated with. It has to do a lot with, you know, your cultural and lived experiences. But now that you're understanding that you are a part of nature, that things are going to change, and the way that you utilize energy will also change, and that's okay. The second thing I want to mention to you, aside from being very specific and selfish as you're concentrating on like what you want to spend your energy on, is that you have to move. You have to move energy. Now, how and what that looks like for you, I'm going to let that be your, you know, your issue. You have to move energy from within your own body. So whether it's you're doing breath work, whether it's dancing, whether it's movement, whether it's yoga, whether it's some other type of like exercise or movement that you're doing, you have to allow things to literally spin inside of your body, okay? So concentration of energy doesn't mean dead energy. It doesn't mean stagnant energy. It means that energy is a little bit slower, but it's more intentional, right? So the way that you're moving in energy can be through creativity. It could be through writing. It could be through poetry or music or just a hyper-focused project. And that is going to be really important for you, because when you are in the practice of movement, you're in the practice of inertia, right? So it's not that you're not going to do anything anymore. It's not that you're going to be not being creative or not making things or not moving your body. Is that you're just going to understand what your body needs this season, and then you're going to give your body what it needs this season. And the number one way that I recommend that you practice movement is by learning how to shift breath inside your body. The way that you breathe impacts literally everything in your physical being. The way that your emotions are, the way that you sleep, the way that you digest food, your immunity, the way that the neurotransmitters in your body are talking to each other, your brain chemistry, your connection to others has everything to do with the way that the breath in your body is moving. So by adding a very simple breathwork practice or breathing technique, you don't have to go to like an hour-long breathwork class. You can, if you want to, you can come, practice with me. But there's also just very simple things that you can do, which is to say, like, is my body like even breathing right now? Am I holding my breath? Like if I put my hand on my belly, is there breath coming in, or am I contributing and adding to energy staying stagnant? If I'm looking at my chest, if I put my hands on my chest, am I holding my breath? Is my jaw tight? Is my neck, my vagal nerve, the sensory nerve that I have in my body that feels emotions before it gets sent to my brain to interpret that emotion, is that being compromised because I'm holding my breath? And if the answer is yes, you do this. You breathe in through your mouth, into your belly, into your chest, and exhale. It's too simple. It's too simple. But this movement of breath is some of the simplest forms of movement that you can do. That is literally like, you don't have to do jumping jacks. You don't have to do all this activity. You don't have to like all of a sudden become a pickleball player. You don't need to like change your entire personality or characteristic by just adding a couple of different techniques that's going to help you do that movement. Okay, so seasonal saddies are not necessarily something to be afraid of. I think it's a really important time for you to be so selfish with the energy that you have. And that's also new to many of us, because we feel like if we're selfish, then we're not giving to others, we're not people pleasing, we're not like, producing a lot of different things. That's exactly what you're healing through right now. That's exactly the point. It's like you're not meant to be the same and meant to produce the same way every single part of the year. There's seasons that are happening, and if this season you notice that like my concentration is on this like project that I'm hyper focusing on, then yes, let's go. Like I'm writing more books, like I'm writing about seasons and rhythms and flow and menstrual cycles and moons. I'm hyper fixated on the things that I'm hyper fixated on, and maybe that's something that you can do as well. So what is that thing that lights you up? What is that thing that you can concentrate that energy on and find movement through that? How can you breathe a little deeper into this project, into this creativity, into the things that you're downloading? And I won't get into that in this conversation, but different seasons also have different elements attached to it. So when you're coming into winter season, you're in the ether. It's very quantum-y, it's very daydreamy, it's very much, connection to source, downloading information. And sometimes that feels overwhelming to us too. Like we're like, oh my gosh, I have all these ideas, but maybe it's not the time to initiate and bloom that idea. It's just the time to collect it, concentrate, collect it, focus, really, be intentional about, yes, I'm putting this piece here, I'm putting this piece here, I'm putting this piece here. And when, not if, when the season to bloom and to blossom and to like put out that project and put out, and you have that like extroverted energy, when that season comes, you've already done all the groundwork. You're not like trying to channel and trying to be creative at a time when it's time for you to, blossom and bloom and be external. This is a very internal season, okay? So I trust in you, because you as a year-round baddie, like, like how important it is to be intentional, right? And okay, like forgive yourself for the times that you weren't, and forgive the times, like if this is the first time you're learning that your body has rhythms and your body has seasons, like, okay, good, like let's do something with it. Because information is absolutely useless unless we can channel that energetically and put it into application and put it into actual work. Yeah. So listen, if you aren't already subscribed, definitely go ahead and subscribe. And just remember, the world is your playground. And until next time, I will catch you soon.